Hello everyone, I'm hoping that we're live right now. Let's wait for everyone to join and then we can get started.
Sounds great. Thank you, Nina.
Thank you.
Everyone's joining in all throughout the different platforms, looking really good. Anticipating a lot of comments today on this really descriptive topic that we're going to be talking about. Perfect. So let's get this started. So, first of all, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're thrilled to have you with us for this exciting webinar on redefining virtual assistant services with Riseup Labs. Our aim today is to dive deep into how virtual assistants can revolutionize the way we work and how Riseup Labs is leading this transformation. We have our esteemed guest speakers here with us today to talk about all of the uh, virtual assistant services that you require. First of all, we have Mr. Arafat Shovon, the Senior Business Development Executive at Riseup Labs. And then we have Ms. Kelli Barabasz, BPO and Staff Augmentation Consultant, North American Region. So now, let's get this started without any further ado. So, first of all, let's begin with some of the basic questions and the role of a virtual assistant. So, can you explain the comprehensive role of virtual assistants and why they're becoming indispensable in the digital age?
Absolutely. I think that if you're looking at virtual assistants, there's obviously various levels of virtual assistants. So, not one size fits all. So, virtual assistants have become a hot commodity right now. When we're looking at staffing down, for example, within our organization, and we're looking at, taking on more responsibility for, say, some of the executives, having a virtual assistant can really help in lowering some of the workloads that you might have and create a better work life balance. And so some of their roles might be handling, like you said, the digital age. So digital marketing, handling some of the Facebook accounts, handling some of the LinkedIn accounts. So now there's so many social platforms out there that we're trying to keep up. And so looking at virtual assistants to be able to assist you in your day-to-day email activity, possibly helping you with your social media platforms, that's really, really critical in the digital age today.
Absolutely. Really informative from your end. So, now when it comes to RiseUp Labs, one of the leading companies for virtual assistant services, how are we innovating in the virtual assistant space? What makes our approach so unique?
Arafat.
Yep. So when it comes to virtual assistants, Riseup Labs has been, uh, leaving a major impact on this particular um, vertical, I would say, because we're not just talking about virtual assistant, we're talking about remote staffing, we're talking about staff augmentation. Ultimately, all of these are same, but we name it in different ways. So let's just assume I receive a client that needs a specific resource to work for them. um, we're gonna talk about this as we go. So we categorize the virtual assistant into three or four for levels: basic, advanced, premium, or maybe the more advanced one. So based on your requirements, we tailor the needs and prepare a checklist that we go through with the client to make sure that we are on the same page. And then our talent acquisition team goes through multiple interview sessions with the perfect match to see we have been satisfied from our end first. And once we are satisfied with the perfect match, we actually have two or three people or multiple people on the pipeline to get back to you finally saying, okay, we have people for you. You select them. Once you're selected, then we do the trainings, we prepare the workstations, we give you a separate space. One of the major things Riseup Labs has been doing is ensuring the business continuity because if you are a freelancer, few things that you have to be concerning. One of the, I would say the first one would be sufficient electricity. Secondly is your availability, because if you're working remote, your availability is one of the major things that should be concerned. And the last thing I would say is um, having the adaptability. So everything combined, I would say Rise Up Labs has been taking a major impact on that, and the clients are seeing the results. If Kelly agrees with me.
Absolutely, Arafat. Absolutely.
Amazing to see really how we're differentiating ourselves in this very fast-paced world because we can see with managing businesses today, it's so hectic. Everything's everywhere, and that is where a virtual assistant can really shine through, especially when you have in-house production companies like Rise Up Labs who work in concentrated teams.
Absolutely.
Moving on to our next question, can you discuss a little bit more about how virtual assistant services have evolved over the years, especially with AI coming through in the market? What is your outlook on the VA services, and especially in this age?
Absolutely. So I've been in this industry for about 30 years. And because I've been in the industry so long, I've seen the various roles come and go, and I've seen virtual assistants start up about 10, 12 years ago and then kind of go to the wayside. And now they're back in full force, strong. And I think a lot of that has to do with economy as well. But at Rise Up Labs, what they do is we have these virtual assistants that could be like Arafat stated, any level of a virtual assistant. So you might have a virtual assistant that is answering somebody's telephones, taking orders, possibly, signing somebody up for an appointment, rescheduling appointments. That might be a basic virtual assistant, for example. Then you might go into an intermediate virtual assistant that actually has, you might add in some Microsoft Suite into the mix, and then add in some media content marketing as well. So maybe some of the basics at the intermediate level, maybe answering or doing some smaller posts and things like that on LinkedIn. Then you move into the advanced stage where you're looking at somebody who is an expert in Microsoft Suite. You're looking at somebody who could possibly take that VA role from middle tier to advanced level, like an executive assistant, somebody who could assist me on a daily basis, taking notes in my meetings, getting me those notes, posting things up on my calendar, making appointments on my calendar, responding to my emails. So things like that. And with AI, out there today, like you said, Minaz,
Right.
AI in this world is huge because AI can actually help and assist in writing those emails. It can help and assist, and it teaches your VA along the way as well. So it teaches them how to write blog posts and what it should look like if you're using AI. It's an amazing tool to have and really helpful for VAs.
Absolutely. I would totally agree with you on this because we can see of AI as a tool nowadays, a tool to help you learn, to help you grow. And I feel as though the beauty of the VA services is that your VA can grow as your business grows. And now moving on to our next question. How does Riseup Labs differentiate its virtual assistant services and fit in the current market needs?
So Rise Up Labs, they differentiate the VA systems or VA services into, I would say, multiple categories. So um, we have administrative assistant, we have admissions assistants, we have social media management. Then we can have game developers. We can have any sort of developers that works remotely. We can have actually um, executive assistants. Uh, you can think of anything that can be done remotely. So we use a term. I'm not sure if anyone is aware of that. So we say, you just name it, we do it. Any stack, any category, you name it, we do it, and that's how we have been doing. That's how we have been very, very successful. And I think people are seeing the difference because the company started the venture with a very small need. So it was just a basic MS package proficiency person that has to do only the presentations. And now in 2024, we are doing game developments. We are doing lots of admission support. We are doing admin support. We're doing bookkeepings, accountants. So there's no boundary. It's again, like I said, you name it, we do it.
Absolutely what's required because so many businesses and personal people require personalized packages. And as I said earlier, your VA needs to grow as your business grows. And I think the personalization hits the sweet spot. So, Miss Kelly, I think you're muted.
You're absolutely right, Minaz. The VAs right now in our space, like Arafat stated, there are so many different verticals that you could possibly come in. We have medical assistant, we have dental assistant, we have accountants. You look at what we're looking for, and it's all over the board when it comes to virtual assistants, and it isn't one size fits all. And that's the good thing, to be able to have those meetings with the client, sit down and go through the checklist and determine what the need is for that client, having them interview their applicants and having that person work directly for them, within our buildings, but directly for them. It's amazing, amazing.
Really, just a broad area to cover as a VA and as a business.
It is.
So, now coming to the services offered, as we mentioned and have been talking about, what types of administrative support do Riseup Labs virtual assistants offer?
So we go from,
In terms of
go ahead, Erica.
yeah, yeah, you're saying something. I'm sorry.
I was just stating that, when you look at the different verticals, there is no vertical really that we're not in, because we do have the healthcare aspect, we have the medical, we have the dental, we have a lot of customer service agents that are helping on the virtual assistant side with some customer service issues that need to be resolved within a customer's profiles. And then we have verticals that could potentially be utilized for an executive. So some of our biggest clients are CEOs, CROs, CIOs, CTOs. So some of the C level that say that they just have no work-life balance and they need to try to get some work-life balance back. And so when we talk about verticals, there is no set vertical for a VA because it works in all verticals. It just depends on what your specific needs are.
Really lovely. Now, if Arafat Bhaiya could add something to it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no boundaries actually. Any industry, um, any tech stack you require, either admin, either accounts, I would say either IT support. So we're doing a lot of IT support that is also going through the virtual assistant sector, which
Right.
is it can
We
be
have
either
sales
very
IT.
basic or the advanced one. we're doing a lot of uh, you know telemarketing aspects. So nowadays, people don't want direct telemarketers, rather they want virtual assistants that can do the outbound cold calling as well as texting, emailing them, updating files. So it's again, if I'm just telling you some examples, it might create an impression saying, okay, so they only just do this XYZ, but they're not doing the ABC. So in a nutshell, I would say any industry that can be held remotely, we're always there. So we have clients from healthcare sector, we have clients from hospitality sector, we have clients from insurance sector, we have clients from education, we have clients from fintech, we have clients from banking, finance, securities, we have clients from ready-made garments. So like I said, you just name it, we do it.
Absolutely amazing. It really shows how whether you have a customer service issue or too much pressure with your sales and marketing support, Riseup Labs can really go far and beyond to make sure that your expectations are met. And we can also see so much happening in the technical and creative assistance section as well. Alongside the sales and marketing, there's also financial management, which is nowadays super important to keep track of. And when you have too much on your plate, Rise Up Labs can just step in and make sure that process is more streamlined, more managed. So now, as Arafat Bhaiya was talking about earlier, we have different levels of assistance. So now, getting more into it, let me ask you this question. How do the different levels of virtual assistants, suppose the basic, advanced, premium, cater to various business needs?
So, as we were talking about a little while ago, and the different levels, I think it just depends on what your business needs are. So, the various levels, for example, in my role, I do a lot of marketing. I am always out on LinkedIn, I'm using the different social media platforms. So, my virtual assistant will go out, look to see if there's messages that I need to respond to, let me know, hey, you've got 14 messages in your inbox. They're actually letting me know. I like to respond to my own social media platform, but in some instances, we do have VAs that are doing responses for the C-level employees. And so that's, for example, as an executive assistant, I do a lot of PowerPoint presentations for the board. Um, in my consultations, I do up different PowerPoints or do ROIs in Excel. And so my VA is very skilled in Microsoft Suite and is able to help me and assist me in my day-to-day operations. And Abdul, one of our guests, actually asked that same question: how do virtual assistants help businesses work better as well? And I'll tell you, it helps me be able to keep on track with my day. Typically, my workday is about 10 to 12 hours a day. That's just a typical day for me. And that's only because I have a virtual assistant. Prior to getting a virtual assistant, I was working 14 to 16 hours a day. So they help me with my work life balance. And the different levels just depend on the skill set that you need. So for me, I need a pretty advanced person because of the skills or the jobs that I'm going to assign to that VA. Some of the jobs I don't necessarily love, which is creating PowerPoint presentations, love looking at them when they're done, but hate having to maneuver through them. So I typically give all of those to my VA who is an expert in PowerPoint, and they get it done in about half the amount of time as I would. So then you look at somebody who might need a VA that's at a beginning level. So if you're looking at a doctor's office, for example, and they have a lot of people who call in to make appointments, reschedule appointments, and that front desk person is trying to answer the phones, take these calls, set up appointments, reschedule appointments, even possibly do some billing on the back end, taking their payment for their billing. So that might be an intermediate level if they're doing the billing piece. If they're not doing the billing piece, that would be a beginning level of a VA where they're just doing the answering the phone, so on and so forth. But if you add that billing piece, they have to have that background and have to understand the billing background, or the billing process. So therefore, if that piece is added, that then becomes the next level of assistance.
Really lovely how you described all the levels. And now, if Arafat Bhaiya could add something to it as well.
Yep, I mean, as Kelly mentioned about the levels, so um, it reflects a lot of my work life. So, my career started as a very, very basic, virtual assistant. So I used to work as a executive assistant, very basic executive assistant to do calendar management for a CEO. Then I ended up becoming an advanced one where I used to support a college in Sydney, New South Wales, Sydney, to help them in their admissions, admin, and student services department. Then I ended up, you know, becoming one of their leading officers from offshore to actually support their entire admin and admission sector. Um, if I'm to be very honest, it's all about your skill sets, and it's all about the needs of a business. So whether you are a freelancer, whether you own a company, you have to understand your client's need, how you can complement them. Like Kelly said, she has a virtual assistant that actually saved almost 4 to 5 hours of her busy day. That's actually the motive. At the end of the day, we want to make people happy. We want to, take the burden off their shoulder. That's why it is called VA, virtual assistant, and we do it very proficiently, to make sure that you're actually getting sufficient time to have this work-life balance. You can have assistants, you can have officers, you can even actually have C-level executives as a remote team, remote staff for your company. So from the very basic to the advanced one, there's no boundaries, and
Right.
we
This,
focus on the quality.
yeah.
So quality is very important.
Absolutely. Couldn't have agreed more with you on this. And the most important part to highlight for all businesses that require VA services is that although there are tags like basic and advanced, premium, all of that, the virtual assistant service that you're getting really does not have boundaries. You can adjust your plans accordingly. You can adjust what a virtual assistant can do for you and your business. Moreover, you can also always personalize the kind of things that they're doing, especially like financial management or bookkeeping, or as you said, making slides for you, as you may not just have the time for it. So, now moving on to the part of case studies. So, could you share a success story of how Riseup Labs virtual assistant services made a significant impact on a client's business?
Okay. So there are so many case studies that's popping back into my mind, but one of my favorite things that I would love to share is, so we had a requirement from a client that needed one VA for admin support, one VA for their live chat system, and one VA to handle all their business presentations, day-to-day regular activities of the C-level executive. And they had a very rough experience with, I would say, another provider, and they came to us with an expectation to actually reduce their workload and also, reduce the costs, because there are so many providers, so many freelancers. You can find the cheapest one, you can find the expensive one, but how do you actually justify that you are the right provider? um, so remember I mentioned earlier a checklist. So we have a separate checklist before we sign a contract with the client. So they got the chance to go through a checklist to actually customize their plannings. And Rise Up Labs has taken that very seriously. All our HR team, all the operations team took it seriously. We have filtered the best of the best according to the needs. It was kind of tough for us because that was our very first launch, and it turned out that the client have at least 15% extended productivity each month, which resulted in their additional customer acquisition, as well as resulted in a little bit sales growth. But that client is now having, I'm going to say again, that client is now having 5 VAs for admin, 3 VAs for their live chat system, and additional
Amazing.
6 VAs for their student services.
Wow, isn't that superb? You can see the transition of how, from the dilemma of whether I require a VA or not, perhaps I can handle all of it by myself, then turns into
You
having
can do,
so
you can
many
handle
VAs.
all by yourself. You can handle all by yourself, or you can just think of, okay, let me have some relaxation and rely on a VA. So not because you can find a VA wherever you go. Even
Right.
I would suggest all the youngsters to start their career as a VA or remote staff or virtual staff to support businesses in anything. It's just you have to follow the right track. You have to be able to do the time management. You have to show your availability, sufficient electricity backup, internet backup, which we call as business continuity. Um, you have to make sure that you go through the compliances, because there will be times when a business will be handing over some of the very very confidential documents for you to just have a quick look. So making sure that you go through the compliance is another major thing, and that's what messes up with these freelancers these days. And that's where Rise Up Lab stands, to make sure if we are saying we're compliant, we're compliant. If we are securing all the documentations, or securing all the documentations at any cost.
Absolutely. Miss Kelly, if you could add on to some of the case studies that you have faced so far.
Sure. So I think my favorite case study that I've seen so far at Rise Up Labs was the one where we had a doctor's office that was um, just getting buried. They said that they were behind on some of their medical billing. They had a receptionist at the front desk who was unable to do scheduling and rescheduling because of the amount of foot traffic that was coming in. So they approached us and wanted to know what our idea was. We sat down with them, talked about their pain points, and identified what those pain points were. Then we went out, created a job description for the first position, which was a level one virtual assistant, which that person then was answering the phones, taking, making appointments, rescheduling appointments, doing some small medical billing for them on the back end. And so that person, you know, actually started as a virtual assistant one or level one. And then within the next 2 to 3 months, they learned that billing piece where they moved to that intermediate level. So you have that opportunity to move up within your levels as you're learning additional skills. Now, as a client, you can teach your VA whatever you want to teach your VA, and that's really, really up to you. Like Arafat said, he started as a VA, so he had to start out with doing some smaller things and then move into some of the larger skills because he had the skill set to do that. So, in this case study, where this doctor then um, hired somebody to answer their phones. Then they hired the second VA that was helping with their billing, 100% of their billing on the back end. Then they started saying, well, you know what? We really need to have a social media platform out there. We're a new doctor's office. How do we get our name out there? How do we market ourselves. And we took those two VAs and we started training them on some of the social media and content management, and helping and assisting this doctor with content management and getting information out there. And they started creating some information that they could send out, some flyers. So they had the ability to create these flyers. And here are two positions that were brand new within the organization that cost the clients, which it was a US based client, it cost that US based client for those two individuals less than, much less than it would have cost them for one individual within the US. And these people that took on this role were so well educated and so willing to learn and ready to learn, and their abilities and capabilities and skill sets were so high. The doctor just continued to grow his practice, continued to bring on VA after VA. I think there's 12 VAs now with that doctor's office. This is a case study that shows we don't know what we need to, we are a well functioning doctor's office that now has the capabilities to take on three times its client base. That's huge.
Amazing. That's a 300% efficiency right there. And we can see in the case study thoroughly that even though at the beginning there was a question of whether or not I require it, no one has really ever had a negative outcome out of it. Rather, they have just increased their VA assistant services and the amount of services they keep taking from us. And especially in a country like Bangladesh, where concentrated teams are forming now under Riseup Labs, the VA trainings are so thorough that your VA can take over your business. Basically, you all you have to do is just assign it to with a to-do list of things to do, and you can just chill and go for a vacation, enjoy your work-life balance, and get some load off of you. Not this just not influence your business, but also influences your personal life as well as your career going forward. Now, moving on to career. As Arafat Bhaiya mentioned previously, that he had started himself from a virtual assistant's career and benefited a lot from it. If someone prefers to work through a company, how can Riseup Labs step in and make sure that their career development is done in the right trajectory?
Okay, so you know, choosing a career in virtual assistance can be very, very tricky, but at the same time very beneficial. So it's total up to you on how you want to benefit yourself. So if you go to LinkedIn these days and search VA jobs remotely, you will see thousands of job facilities, but you have to be efficient to pick which ones actually for in it for you. Just to give you a very basic scenario, you have to be very proficient in MS packages. You have to be very proficient in email management. You have to be very communicative. You can easily go to the market. If you can easily go to any company saying, okay, I want to be a VA. If you have any work for me, and I bet you the company will examine if you're worth it, you're gonna get an opportunity, whether you want to do as a freelancer, whether you want to go to a company. um, Career in VAs can be extraordinary as well. So like I said, I started my career as a VA. So I used to have my friends that did the same thing with different entities. Some of them are owning their own advertising companies. Some of them are working in MNCs. If I have to name, so that could be Unilever. There are New Zealand Dairies. Um, there are some people working in the healthcare industries directly, and then there are people that are working with IT firms. So all of them, started from the very beginning, the VA as a basic. Gradually, they grow, from basic to advanced premium, and now they're seeing the results. So my advice to all the all the young people out there, all the VAs out there working as a freelancer, before you actually do the job hunting or before you actually do the client hunting, make sure to go to a checklist. Do I have sufficient proficiency in MS packages? Because that's the basic thing a client will require all the time. Get yourself familiar with some of the task management tools, Asana, Jira, there's Slack, there's Trello. Get yourself familiar with, let's say, cold calling tools. There are so many cold calling tools that you can do a free trial to get yourself on the same pace. Oh, okay, now is the time that I'm ready to support you. And I would highly recommend increase your LinkedIn outreach to actually land on your first work, because that's how you grow. And if you want to go to a company, that's more beneficial. They'll always have backup for you. They will always look after you. There will be times when training sessions will be needed. So like Riseup Labs does, they organizes weekly training sessions to make sure the client and the VA is on the same page. Everything is matching perfectly. We even address all the issues that happened previous weeks to make sure the next weeks and the upcoming week are better. So yeah, whether you're a freelancer, whether you're going to a company, it's totally up to you to choose the path. It's just you have to be proficient. You have to learn the industry and
Right.
gonna be
Definitely.
energetic.
Yeah, and I feel as though in the current age, students are really entering their career phases. And once they get into the VA atmosphere, they can really see businesses from upfront, how businesses are functioning, how services are managed, and basically so much personal development as well comes along, just basically being a virtual assistant as well. So, Miss Kelly, could you please add more to your career experiences and how VA has been working out for the better?
Sure. So, just I think, if I look at my own VA, I have to look at my own VA and say, how does this work for me? How is this saving me time? How is this saving me money? So, I live in the US, so I am US based. I would not be able to pay a VA US salary to be able to do some of the jobs that I need to be done. And ultimately, the work that is getting done is at a skill level that is just absolutely amazing. So, like you said, Arafat, one of the things that you've told some of these students or people who are looking to get in the VA space that aren't necessarily just students, because there's a lot of VAs that have been VAs for a very, very long time. And that's what we found a lot out there, is that there are people who have done this for their career and they're exceptional VAs. But how I'm saving money, obviously, is as part of um, hiring somebody in Bangladesh, because the wages are lesser in Bangladesh. So I'm able to do that. But ultimately, it's about saving time for me,
Exactly.
having a good work life balance, being able to go out on the weekend and enjoy my family or my friends. Previously, I worked 7 days a week. So working 7 days a week, sometimes 16 hours a day, just takes a toll on you. It really does. And so getting a virtual assistant in to help take some of my workload off, whether it's
Yeah.
those PowerPoint presentations, whether it's, answering some of my emails. They don't do my social media responses. I do my own, but they do let me know, hey, you've got 14 emails, or you've got 22 responses that need to be done on LinkedIn. Hey, somebody's looking out and they want to get some additional business. You probably, this is a hot lead, you need to call today. So there's
Absolutely.
this person has been phenomenal in my work life balance. And I think that's what really, for me, the virtual assistant is all about, is creating not only your own work life balance, but creating these roles or positions to be able to get to that work life balance.
Right. Absolutely, couldn't have agreed more. And especially with the evolved services nowadays, we can really see that the future of virtual assistants is evolving as well. And I feel like some of the clients, before they ask for virtual assistant services, have a few concerns, such as the time zones not matching. How can you stay at the other part of the world and still provide the services that I require according to my time? But with Riseup Labs, as we're proficient in communicating and working in hours that are basically outside of our region still, it's just really amazing how the problem of time zones and this whole virtual reality is just all coming together and it's no longer a problem.
And you're spot on. One of the things I think that I love most is, my VA works, unfortunately, in the middle of the night to mirror my hours. But they're used to this. This is something that they've done for their most of their career, is worked those off hours because they've worked for international companies.
Right.
And it's amazing that I might say, hey, tomorrow I have a meeting. It's an hour earlier than your usual start time. Could you come in an hour earlier tomorrow and leave an hour earlier? And they're typically almost always absolutely. Let me see what I can do. I'll move things around for you. And they're amazing individuals. At least my VA is. And I know that with all of our clients, I hear the same thing. So it's just amazing to be able to have that person there to assist. I even use my VA to sit there and I'll have conversations about how does this sound for my presentation and go through my presentations with them, and they provide feedback. It's just amazing to be able to have that person there to assist.
Right, and I feel as though Arafat Bhaiya would be able to add in on the factor of how affordable these services are. In regards to the services that are being performed by each of the VA, the amount of money that you're having to spend in order to basically invest money, basically investing in yourself and your business, can actually prove to be very fruitful if Arafat Bhaiya would add to it.
I
Should
couldn't agree more.
actually get the full access.
Right. Ms. Kelly, moving on to you, as you were saying and adding on to this.
Yeah, I just think, if we are looking at some of the best you look at virtual assistants, and you look at the capabilities of those virtual assistants, and you look at the capabilities that each one of these individuals have, and we cater to your needs, so we can truly sit down with you and determine what the needs are for your virtual assistant. If you select, for example, a virtual assistant and it's not the best fit for your organization, we've had this as well, where somebody said, you know what, culturally, it's just not the best fit for me. Or, we just don't really see eye to eye, or the personality doesn't click. We literally will go back and work with that person to select another VA. That has only happened a couple of times, and it's just kind of I don't really meld well with my VA. We're just not we don't have the same personality. And so we're able to go back in and determine, okay, what is it exactly that we missed in this first round, so that we can get you the
Mhm.
right person. I've never had to go to round three. So, and only a couple of times where a client has said, yeah, the person, their skill set's perfect, but culturally, we just don't have the best fit. So I think that sitting down with you as a client and determining what your needs are is going to go a long way, because we have had clients that say, I just want someone to answer phones. That's all I want. Send me two VAs. And we want to go through the checklist with you, because we really want to determine, you want them to answer phones, but what is it that they're doing on the phones? Is it a video call? Is it an audio call? Are they going to do any chats if they're working with a customer base? Are they going to do any email? So it might just be that you think that you need somebody just to answer phones, but that's not really what you're looking at. So I think that determining the needs of that client is key up front to determine what a level of VA that you need and what skill set you need.
Absolutely. If Arafat Bhai would like to add to that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, um, it's totally up to the client. We said this earlier. It's actually all the same things are coming again and again. And so customizing the needs, and we have the facility. If you don't like your VA, well, we do a trial period as well. For example, or there are often times when we get clients that are more comfortable doing a 7 days trial or a 14-day trial, and they would actually move forward if they like the VA. Or there are often times when clients do not actually proceed with the given one, but rather they propose us to change the VAs with any
Right.
other additional ones. So all the facilities that are out there, for us, clients are equal, VAs are equal. So we believe in a term says client and employees first, we second. So whether it's going to the VAs or going to the clients, we always make sure that both ends are happy. And as Kelly was mentioning about the time difference, so
Yeah.
being able to support 24/7, 365 actually adds a major value. So we get the pleasure to support Australian clients. We get the pleasure to support US clients throughout our nighttime. We get the pleasure
Yeah.
to support UK clients in our afternoon time. So it's I would say we're having a very good multi-geographical relationships with all our existing partners or businesses. And that's how you do business. I mean, if you ensure you have the right talent, you're doing the 24/7 365 support, you have
Yeah.
the facility to ramp up. I guess ramping up a team is another major thing. So you might often see clients that are willing to start with two or three, but they once they see the difference, they might ask you to ramp up the team to 10, 15 within a blink of an eye. And you have to have the ability to ramp up the team. And I
Yeah.
gotta admit, the HR team, the operations team of Riseup Labs, they deserve a huge round of applause, because these people are really making a difference. We're doing a 1 week, 2 business week maximum to ramp up the teams. The closest time frame was 5 business days to ramp up the team from 3 to 15, with the perfect
Wow.
and perfect and perfect match. So a huge round of applause for the operations and HR team.
Really appreciating and worthy of being appreciated of how they're managing all the services. Huge kudos to Rise Up Labs team. And it's 2024. As a manager, it's right now a trend for you to assign and delegate your responsibilities that fit the business needs. As someone who works very proficiently in a lot of different sectors, you cannot have your mind at all times at all places. And having a VA in that situation, regardless of it being an emergency or just basically having someone to give you a to do for every single day, it can help not only just businesses but individuals as well to stay in track, as Miss Kelly earlier mentioned. So now we're just going to be moving on towards our Q&A session. So let's just get started. So first question we have is, what advantages do businesses get from hiring a VA? If we could just shorten and summarize this up.
Absolutely, Zen. Hello. Thank you for joining today, everyone. In the Q&A session, we will go back and forth. So Arafat, feel free to jump in as well. Um,
Absolutely.
but what advantages do businesses get from hiring a VA? I would have to say several advantages. First off, cost savings. If you're based in the US, UK, Australia, and you're looking for a VA, you're going to get cost savings. Secondarily, you're going to have a better work life balance. If this VA is for you specifically, for example, you're going to have, once you've trained this individual, they're working a full-time schedule, so 40 hours a week. So take 40 hours of your work week and think about what tasks you can assign to your VA. Then you assign those to your VA. And now, guess what? My business advantage is I'm getting tasks done that I've put on hold for weeks, months, sometimes years. I'm looking at other opportunities to grow or advance my business. What different things can I do now because I actually have time again? So Zen, I think you're spot on when you say, what advantages do you get? Oh my gosh, so many advantages.
Amazingly described. And if Arafat could add some of it as well.
Of course. So the advantages is limitless. So um, not only just cost savings, not only just you're getting the workloads reduced, you're actually getting access to a different type of talent which you might require for your business. We always say it doesn't matter if it's a very basic VA to an advanced one. Each person carries a different talent comparing to other ones. So you might often see, okay, so the person you're working with is very, very proficient in crafting designs in Canva, and you are actually missing someone in your company to do so. Um, you're actually getting the benefits of accessing to different talent pools. Time management is another thing. So while you are sleeping, your VA is actually handling most of the part of your business, whether answering customers, managing your dashboards. It doesn't matter which industry you are in, and ultimately, cost savings comes at the same time. Um, Another thing, I'm not sure if we have covered here or not. So Bangladesh is totally tax exempted. So anyone willing to have a dedicated team here in Bangladesh doesn't need to worry about a single penny as a tax when it comes to having remote team, remote assistance, or I would say a dedicated team. Whether you go with a freelancer, you go with or whether you go with a company, it's totally tax exempted. I'm pretty sure our neighboring countries are charging at least $50 to $60 per head, which I believe is a little bit more flexible here in Bangladesh.
Right. Perfect. So now jumping on to the next question. Although you've touched down on some of the main pointers, how do virtual assistants help businesses work better? So, what are some of the differentiating factors for Riseup Labs when it comes to really taking it a step forward?
I think when you're looking at how do businesses keep could you repeat that one again? I'm sorry, Minaz.
Absolutely. So, how do virtual assistants help businesses work better? Basically, the
Sure.
differentiating factor of Riseup Labs when it comes to the business arena.
Right. And I think definitely they help businesses work better. And Arafat just touched on this actually. But they just make you more efficient. I think that is the key is
Mhm.
it creates efficiency within every organization. And that's all you need to say is it makes you so much more efficient.
Absolutely. So now let's move on to the next question. And what problems might businesses have with virtual assistants? Some of the challenges, if you could please share.
Absolutely. So I think that some in instances where I've had to send a second virtual assistance, which, like I said, has not happened often, but a culture fit. So somebody just wasn't the right culture fit for the organization. Typically, that their learning curve took a little bit longer than what the client expected in some cases on teaching them some of the social media platforms, for example. So when Arafat alluded to earlier, you know, as a VA, what we encourage you to do is make sure that you have Microsoft Suite and that you're very proficient in Microsoft Suite if you want to be a VA. Make sure that you have the social media platforms under your belt. Make sure you've updated your own social media platforms. So I
Right.
think what problems businesses have usually fall into those two categories because for the most part, I've not really run into anything because they're an extension of you. Virtual assistants are an extension of you. They are literally doing the tasks that you assign.
Absolutely. And now, really just jumping on to a related question, which is regarding how do business keep info private with virtual assistants? I feel like this is a big query amongst all because security and confidential information is a big question in everyone's head. What if the virtual assistants can't really take on the confidentiality of things? So, what are your opinions on that?
Yeah. So
Um,
go ahead, Arafat.
um, I would really emphasize this one. So all the businesses that are doing VA services should be having the ISO certification, the 27001, 9001. They should be SOC 2 certified or at least compliant, PCI compliant. At the same time, they should be able to habituated with the practice of maintaining data security. Whether you are assigning a team to support any business, or whether you are having one individual from a company just to maintain your calendars or your documentations, make sure that you run through all the compliances policies. And ultimately, it's totally up to the business how you run through the compliance policies. And I'm pretty sure all the informations with the clients are very safe with the businesses, because at the end of the day, what is confidential is confidential. And Riseup Labs plays a major role here. So we not only provide the security, but at the same time, we make sure that the resources are totally exempted from extracting any data from their workstations. So all the workstations we have here are totally USB port disabled. They're not allowed to use any sort of pen drives or any such equipments on the floor, which also ensures that the data are secured. And then we have our own servers to make sure that even if any incident happens, your data as a client is totally safe and secured with the company. Going back to Kelly.
Miss Kelly, if you could add on to some of it and solve our biggest query, really. Although Arafat Bhai really touched down on some of the very important key pointers regarding privacy.
So also, I think that the number one thing is they're required to sign an NDA. So every employee is required to sign an NDA to keep that information private and secure. So in Arafat stated as well, they're in the building. We have security measures and compliance measures that we put across for all of the employees at Riseup Labs.
Really important because at the end of the day, when you're assigning and delegating your responsibilities to a virtual assistant, the first priority that you should be having is to make sure that your information stays confidential. And that's exactly why at Riseup Labs we take an extra mile to ensure that your information remains confidential and, of course, among just the work between you and your virtual assistant. So no such issues arise. And thank you so much, Ms. Kelly, for your input as well on the NDA contract agreement, because this is so important. You would want to know if there's an official procedure and official signing by the VA to ensure that your privacy is maintained throughout.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's get on to our next question. How can virtual assistants save businesses money? And this is the second last question that we're going to be taking.
Absolutely. So saving companies money, if you are based in the US or you're based in the UK, Australia, If you are based in one of those countries where your staffing is a minimum wage, for example, if I live in California, the minimum wage, depending on where I live in California, might be 17.50 an hour, moving up to $20 an hour within the next couple of years. So if that's the case, $20 an hour for a VA at a minimum level, that is an entry level position, is going to cost me a significantly a lot higher than it is if I'm hiring somebody, for example, in Bangladesh. So Bangladesh wages are a little bit lower. Cost of living is lower, obviously, than somewhere like Los Angeles. So I think that's definitely where you're going to save money. You're also going to save money because you're putting in place processes, policies, procedures. And so it's not just about the wage, it's about the back end. If I put all of these things in place, then my business is running more effectively and more efficiently. So, with a more efficiently run business, you are typically saving money.
Really good pointers right there. And as well as saving money, we can also see how it boosts efficiency. So the two combined is really the best of both worlds. Now, moving on to our next question, how can I start as a VA then? I feel like a lot of our viewers are currently wondering about this, hearing the benefits and the experiences that you can get as a VA.
Sure. I want to answer that, but there's one right ahead of that that I want to answer for Abdul. And he says, can virtual assistants help with project management tasks such as coordinating schedules and tracking progress? And the answer
Absolutely.
is yes. And the reason I wanted to answer that is some of our current VAs are using Monday, Smartsheet, things like that to manage the project management side of the business for some of our clients. So, absolutely. I just wanted to get that one answered. And then I'll let move on to the next one and let Arafat answer how can I start as a VA.
Absolutely. As Arafat Bhai was saying that he started his career as well as a VA, his input is really gonna be the kicking here.
So Arafat, how do they get
Yeah,
started?
my advice to Louis, it's not just Louis. My advice to Louis, not only to Louis, actually, to all the people out there that have a similar question in their mind, might forget to ask in this chat, would be, get started with the basic ones. Um, Start your LinkedIn outreach. Go to the LinkedIn instead of surfing on any of the social platforms. I highly recommend everyone using LinkedIn proficiently. Increase your connections, get connected to all the C-level executives, all the directors of businesses, all the head of the business developments, administrations, finances, sales, operations. Get connected to all the decision makers of a business. Have a chat with them once a week, twice a week. You know, Try to learn from them, build a rapport with them, and it will eventually create opportunities because you will always see in their job section on the LinkedIn saying, we're looking for remote, let's say, customer service representative, or we're looking for remote admin IT support. It's up to you. Do you have what it takes? As a basic VA, I would highly recommend you to get boosted up your MS efficiency, get boosted up your task management tools efficiency. Like Abdul asked, what sort of task management tools. Kelly already said Monday schedulers. I highly recommend using Asana's, ClickUps, Jira, Trello's on a day-to-day basis. You should always be familiar with Canva. It's a advice to all the VAs or would be VAs out there. Canva is an amazing tool to actually save your day-to-day tasks. If you're into design, if you're into crafting, um, learn some telephone etiquettes. You might never know you get a chance to be a VA to just handle the virtual reception option. So you get habituated with some of the telephone etiquettes, um, learn how to communicate properly, and another thing, I would say last but not the least one, would be the time management. Whenever you are working with any global companies or any nearshore companies, the very first thing that they will require from you is the time management. So if you commit them that you will be present on their times, let's say 9 a.m., you have to make sure whatever happens, your availability should be 9 a.m. Otherwise, it creates a bad impression. So if you can cover all these basic things, it's very easy to actually start your career as a VA and then end up becoming people like Kelly, people like you, people like us, or even more better.
Absolutely. And I'm seeing Miss Kelly has already answered the question above. Usually, how long is that going to take, though, someone just starting on this to find an opportunity as a VA? As Arafat Bhaiya has touched down on the key pointers, you have to be on the look. You have to make sure that your career is heading in the right trajectory. You are being seen by the business professionals who employ virtual assistants. And when you just have the right set of skills, it's never too early to start. You can always just have a head on and get into the industry. And as you go by, there's going to be so many different options for you to pick from. And now we've come to the closing ceremony of the webinar. And with that being said, I would really like to thank our guests and Miss Kelly and Arafat Bhaiya. If you had some concluding statements, that would be great.
I just truly want to thank everyone for taking time out of their day today to find out a little bit more about virtual assistants and how they can work for you. Or if you're interested in being a virtual assistant and you're in the Bangladesh area, obviously visit Riseup Labs career page, website, and their careers page, and you can apply for virtual assistants today. So thank you again for everyone's time.
Thank you so much, Miss
Um,
Kelly. Moving on to Arafat Bhaiya.
in addition to that, I really appreciate everybody's time. I know some of them are actually joining on the Ramadan time, so I really appreciate all your times, and exactly, same to all the joinees. I wish you all the best. Like Mehnaz mentioned, it's not too early, it's not too late. All you do is just get efficient with the LinkedIn one, because LinkedIn is one of the best platforms to start your career if you're on the right track. So I wish you all the best. Any queries you have, Rise of Labs is always there. I'm pretty sure Kelly is always there. I'm always here to support with any queries you have, whether you own a business, whether you are an individual looking for career counseling, and that's how we actually help each other. So, wish you all the very best, and thank you, Mehnas, for organizing such a wonderful webinar session. And I really appreciate Kelly for joining the session as well.
Thank you so much, and it's really been my pleasure hosting this. Now, just for our concluding statements, thank you everyone for engaging in today's discussion. We hope you found this webinar informative and inspiring. If you're ready to take your business to the next level with the help of a virtual assistant, we invite you to sign up for Riseup Labs services. And even for someone who's taking off their VA career, Riseup Labs is here extending its hand for you to support. For any further inquiries, please don't hesitate to contact us as we are all available at your convenience. Thank you once again, everyone, for your time, including my audience as well as my esteemed guest speakers. Now, as for the conclusion, have a wonderful day, and I hope that you have an amazing time finding the right VA for you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye bye.
Have a great day. Bye bye.